Penguin here. You know, we've been getting a lot of compliments on our recent videos, and a lot of people really seem to love our theory content. But we've also garnered a fair amount of criticism for some of our takes. Lots of things people have brought up were genuinely oversights on my part, but the most common complaint that we've received on any of our videos is in regards to the proposed timeline split in Skyward Sword, which, honestly, I find a little bit odd. To me, that seems to be the most clear-cut evidence of a theory I've provided in any of our videos. If you travel to the past and plant a tree, then return to the future and see the tree was never planted in the future that you returned to, then there has to be a timeline in which the tree was planted, separate from the one you're in now. It seems to be so simple and obvious that it can't be refuted, and yet people still seem to take issue with it. Well guys, fair enough. Today's theory will not operate based on the assumption that Skyward Sword split the timeline, and we will assume instead that the timeline is exactly as Nintendo shows it to an absolute T. Zelda's story is exactly and entirely as shown by Nintendo. The downfall timeline exists because Link died in Ocarina of Time, while also simultaneously not dying in Ocarina of Time. Okay, but how does that make sense? Link can't die and not die at the same time, right? Is Link just Schrodinger's cat? I don't think so, and yet it's clearly what Nintendo intended to some extent, so how did it happen? Well, today we will be working out a potential solution that relies almost entirely on official source material, and will keep speculation to a minimum. I'm sure that will seem totally unhinged based on the thumbnail, but today is as close to canon as it gets, I promise. First, let's look at the downfall timeline from Game 1, and then move on down until we get a timeline contradiction, and we can work our way backward from there. Zelda 1 was unsurprisingly completely and totally contradiction-free. Link sees Impa getting attacked by Ganon's minions, goes to free the princess, pretty basic stuff. Zelda 2 has some contradictory material, but not really time-travel-y contradictions. We've got two Zeldas now, I guess, and the one from this game is simultaneously old enough when they were sealed away to have likely birthed another Zelda, maybe? While also being found young enough to make them kiss a 16-year-old on the lips. Oh, 80s gaming. So, we have one Link, one Ganon, but two Zeldas. Cool. Other than that, though, the story is fairly cut and dry. Ganon's gone, his minions want to revive him, and they can do it with the blood of the hero. Link wants to revive old Zelda, so he goes after the Triforce of Courage in the Great Temple. More or less, standard poor Zelda sequel concept. A Link to the Past is next, and this one has a big backstory, but no time travel. It takes place before Zelda 1 and 2. A long time ago, a great war was fought over the Triforce in the Sacred Realm, in which the King of Evil Ganondorf was sealed in the Sacred Realm by 7 sages. And quick note here, I know that the English version says 7 wise men, but the Japanese game uses the same name for these wise men as Ocarina of Time does for characters like Ruto, Nabooru, and yeah. I'ma assume that we don't know that these sages were meant specifically. There, Ganondorf got his hands on the full Triforce, became a dark beast named Ganon, and turned the Sacred Realm into the Dark World. The war ended and the sages went on to live their lives. Later, Ganon created a puppet in the Light World named Aghanim, who kidnapped 7 maidens who were descendants of the 7 sages, hoping to use them to break the seal on the Dark World and get himself out. A child named Link, a descendant of the Hylian Knights, got a request telepathically from Zelda to come and save her, and then the whole game happens and he does it. Okay, next game of major story import is Ocarina of Time. This game is a prequel to A Link to the Past. Link is a kid with a dream. A bad dream. A dream where he almost gets run over by a horse, blasted by a dude with big old elephant ears. Not your pleasant dream stuff.
It's a German fairy tale, so it's a little dark, I guess.
Dungeons happen, you open the Sacred Realm, get sealed for 7 years, Ganondorf gets into the Sacred Realm, gets his hands on one piece of the Triforce, you do more dungeons, save 7 sages, if you count Zelda, and the 7 sages seal Ganondorf and the Triforce of Power into the Sacred Realm, and stop. There's a contradiction here. The Seven Sages do seal Ganondorf in the Sacred Realm just like we would expect after A Link to the Past told us that's what happened. But the full Triforce isn't there anymore. The two pieces held by Link and Zelda are in their hands in the Light World at the end of the game, so how does Ganondorf get his hands on all of it? They are kept from him beyond his current dimension, so how could he possibly get them? Well, Hyrule Historia tells us that this timeline is one where Link didn't win. Ganon gets the Triforce from Link and Zelda before being sealed away, and while that sounds like a lazy patch job for the 3 games that are supposed to be after Ocarina of Time, in the face of this evidence, it seems like it was probably the plan from Square One when they started making Ocarina of Time. This game is to A Link to the Past, as Age of Calamity is to Breath of the Wild, an exploration of how it would have gone if the success was achieved by the good guys where it originally was not. But in Age of Calamity, this happens as a result of Terraco changing the timeline. By what mechanism is Ocarina of Time's ending changed from failure to success? The answer would likely surprise you if not for the title and thumbnail. Well, let's start with a little note here. The solution must not be a what if alone. For this timeline to coexist with the other two, something must happen later on in the timeline that causes this spot earlier on the timeline to diverge and allow for success, just like we would see in Age of Calamity. So do we see anything like that? Well, not in any obvious way. There's no time travelers, no prophecies of how to subvert a dark fate, nothing like that, at least not overtly. Link is a hero of prophecy in Ocarina of Time, but that prophecy doesn't seem to hint at a major likelihood of failure. So maybe we should look for differences between this timeline and the others. Anything major there? Yeah, actually. Try the entire religion and lore of the series being gone in the 3 oldest games and replaced with Jesus? Jesus! Let's talk about it. The religion of the first 3 Zelda games was Christianity, and unless you believe in retcons, this isn't even theory, it's canon. Evidence of this includes the cross on Link's shield in Zeldas 1 and 2, the book that you get in Zelda 1 that powers up the magic rod being called the Bible in the original Japanese version of the game, and the bishop and cathedral in A Link to the Past, the silver arrows in 1 and A Link to the Past, and perhaps most definitively, a picture in the Japanese pamphlet of A Link to the Past that depicts Link kneeling and praying in front of the crucifix. Look at it in all its glory. This is 100% official art. Crazy, right? That said, the in-lore original religion of Hyrule is still there. Zelda 2 features a goddess statue, called the Trophy in English versions to remove overt real-world religion content from the games. And the Triforce still exists, so we have pretty good evidence to suggest that the religions of Hylia and the 3 golden goddesses are still alive and well. Despite the existence of these religions, the Link of these games is devoutly Christian. But how and why would that be the case? Well, it's simple, actually. We see in the timeline very clearly what must have happened. You see, when Link died in Ocarina of Time, he failed in his life's calling. He left Hyrule to destruction and desolation. The existence of this timeline is predicated on the fact that Link fell short. This must have racked his soul with terrible grief and shame. He was supposed to protect this world, but he failed and the world would suffer for his mistake. Link would have wanted a second chance, an opportunity to right his wrong, to redeem himself. And who better to give him a second chance than the one who suffered, bled, and died to give all of us a second chance? When Ganon slew Link in that final battle, he both wittingly and unwittingly sent him to Jesus.
I will send you to Jesus.
Literally and figuratively. And from this point in the timeline on, almost all Links would believe in his redemptive power. Through his faith in Jesus Christ, Link was able to combat Ganon once again, this time wielding not only the Master Sword, but also the silver arrows. For those unaware, silver is a metal that, in medieval European culture and religion, was believed to have holy and sacred properties, which is why it was believed to be a potent tool against demons and monsters, like vampires or werewolves. This property that it had was itself due to silver's association with clarity, reflection, and notably purification. It is said that when a silversmith works in silver, the smith can know that the silver is pure when they can see their own reflection in the silver, which is often used as an allegory for how God works with us. Placed in hot enough conditions, we are melted down and placed in a furnace until God can see himself reflected in us. This process takes raw materials and makes something more, taking silver corrupted by its environment and returning it to its elemental state, redeeming it, so to speak. Notably, in both A Link to the Past and Zelda 1, even the strongest sword is incapable of dealing the final blow, which is absolutely insane, because the strongest sword in A Link to the Past is a version of the Master Sword, already a sacred blade, that is 4 times stronger than normal, and it can only barely scratch Ganon. The only implement that can destroy him is a weapon crafted from materials representing redemption, which, whether or not it's through Jesus, is truly poetic on this timeline. Though Link failed in his attempt to save the world before, his belief in the redemptive power of Christ allowed him to conquer a version of Ganon far more powerful than the one he fell to in a past life. And with evil felled, Link attained access to the Triforce, the power of the gods of Hyrule, which he used to remove Ganon's influence from this world. This wish retroactively healed the King of the Land, who we saw dead on his throne, revived Link's uncle, and perhaps even allowed the Link of Ocarina of Time another chance to strike down evil, giving him a chance he didn't even know he'd need. Now, that all said, you'll notice Link just used a relic of a non-Christian faith, and it worked. Isn't the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob the only one true God? Perhaps in our world, should you believe that to be the case, but certainly not in Hyrule. I don't believe Link to be a monotheist, even though he is a Christian. Instead, Link is what we would call a henotheist, a person who recognizes the existence of multiple gods, but worships only one. When asked to fetch a goddess statue, an idol of a different god, from a cave full of monsters in Zelda 2, Link doesn't refuse. He doesn't seek out and destroy the idol, he retrieves it and returns it to its owner. He is kind, compassionate, and understanding of other faiths and belief systems. When the opportunity presents itself to learn from other faiths and apply what they teach for the bettering and enrichment of one's own life without abandoning one's own faith, a process called holy envy, Link takes the opportunity. And I think that this use of the Triforce at the end of the game is a beautiful application of that principle. We've all known this for a long time, but Link is just a good guy all around, and it's beautiful to see that a part of that is due to his hope and faith. I'm not going to tell anyone what they should believe, and neither would Link, but it is heartwarming to find solidarity among other believers, and to have at least one that is as well known and ubiquitous as the elf boy in the green skirt. I might say that it fills me with courage to know that I have a role model as cool as him. Now, all of that said, is Link really still considered a Christian by Nintendo in those early games? Maybe. If you don't want to believe that Christianity fits into the Zelda canon, then I can see how you would see it inconsistent with the world of Zelda ever since Ocarina of Time fleshed out the lore, including the Golden Goddess's religion. But think about it. To say that Link isn't a Christian in these Downfall Timeline games is only really possible by relying on retcon, which, as we established at the beginning of this video, we aren't doing today. We can choose to believe that retcon is a good writing strategy to employ, or we can choose not to. Either way, let's keep it light and civil. This is for fun after all. That's gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I know that stuff like this can get contentious at times, but I hope that we can all find common ground and be open to hearing out the opinions of others. Not necessarily to adopt them, but to take what good we can from what they have to offer and to share what good we have with those around us. I mean, I'm sure that this video probably seemed ridiculous upon first impression, but I think you'll agree it actually fits fairly well, both thematically and based on official evidence. You never would have thought that unless you gave the video a chance though, so thanks for giving it that chance. Guys, listen to me. I was wrong about the Roaring Knight. It wasn't Death. No! Stop! Get off of me! Ah! Huh, what? No, I didn't hear anything just now. but it sounded like they were talking to you. That's all for this week. Make sure to shoot us a like and subscribe, and hey, if you haven't already, consider joining the Discord channel, or signing up for our membership program. We hope to see you really soon, but until then, this is Outcast Penguin, signing off.